The area where I patrol in the Arizona border, we are more into the drug cartels and drug smuggling into the country. I can assure you I was there. I know what's happening. I've seen the way it's being handled, and our agents that are working these areas are more than professional.
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of our YouTube channel. Today we have Jim Calle once again. We had him on last YouTube channel on the last program, and it caused some controversy, not a lot of controversy, but I know there's a lot of questions that agents out there still want to know concerning the camps. That's why we decided to do this, bring Jim back on. Jim was involved with the entire camp situation and everything that we've been having to go through. He's going to explain some of the issues of the law. We also have some documents here showing that we reached out to Woodley and McGillivray, the attorneys that are handling another lawsuit for us here, and their response with the transfers in and the swaps and robs and all kinds of movement. I know it causes some controversy and some agents not really fully understanding why we're here, how we got here when it comes to camps. So I'm very happy to have you on the show again, Jim, even though I see you quite often, but having you on the show makes a big difference. And I know you can explain it. And obviously we want to talk about the law. That's a big issue. But at the same time, we want to explain it in just regular terms. I'm not saying our watchers and listeners aren't going to understand, but we want to put it in as simple terms as possible because we don't want any confusion. And we want to make sure that all the answers are answered. So if an agent comes and says, okay, can we redo it? You're able to say, we can, but we're not going to win. And basically because they would refer back to the original lawsuit already, which has already been granted and non-granted and decided. So again, can you please explain the genesis of the grievances all the way through the whole FLRA ruling?
Originally there was a grievance filed by two locals, including this local. This is back in 2008. The matter went through the grievance process. It ultimately ended up going to an arbitration. And the arbitrator actually found in favor of the locals at that time, saying that because of the fact that we had to go to these camps and were mandated to stay, that the agents were in fact entitled to stand by pay.
I'm going to stop you there. So the arbitrator said, yes, you guys are entitled to stand by pay.
Correct.
Okay. You guys heard it here. The arbitrator said, yes, we are. What happened after that?
The agency appealed, and the matter ended up going to the FLRA, and the FLRA, the FLRA decided that the arbitrator was incorrect. It's important to explain a couple things. One is, at the time of this litigation, agents were voluntarily going to the camps.
Correct.
So one of the things that was at issue in that litigation was, if an agent is voluntarily going to this camp, do they still qualify for standby pay? And ultimately, the FLRA ended up saying that they did not qualify for standby pay.
I'm going to stop you right there because you said that the difference was they were voluntary. Does it make a difference now that they're being mandated?
The final result is no. There is no difference, even though they are currently being mandated.
So the fact that because you stressed it, you talked about it, you said that the difference was they were volunteering. It doesn't matter whether they're volunteering or mandating is what you're telling me.
No, but okay. I think it warrants an explanation. For standby pay, there are three different requirements. One is that the employee is restricted to a designated post of duty, which obviously applies
that applies
in this case. The second one is that they have his or her activities substantially limited. In the arbitration case, when agents were volunteering for the camps, the arbitrator found that the agents, in fact, were having their activities substantially limited. That's also the point where the FLRA differed, and they found that, in fact, Border Patrol agents can essentially do whatever they want at camp except leave. They can't drink, and they can't leave, and they can't have family or friends there. But other than that, they're free to do anything that they want.
And is it okay? I'm going to stop you.
Go ahead.
Is there anything within the law that prevents the agency from saying you can't have an alcoholic beverage on your own time while at these premises?
Well, it is a government facility, so as a result, they do have the right to say that.
Now, the question that's going to be asked is, can I leave and go drink alcohol and then come back?
Well, separately, we in this local had another grievance at a later time where we ended up pursuing the freedom of agents to leave.
Correct.
And ultimately, we ended up reaching a resolution where agents are in fact free to leave to go to things like church. They can go with supervisor approval. They can do almost anything.
With supervisor approval.
Right.
So that's the big issue. But obviously, you fall into leaving, drinking alcohol, getting back in a G ride, driving back to camp because you're assigned. So there's issues there. So, I mean, bottom line is on that one, and I know people aren't going to like it, but I mean, if you're assigned 5 days, 7 days, you can go 5, 7 days. Don't drink alcohol in those 5 to 7 days.
Right.
I mean, and if you have to drink alcohol within those 5, 7 days, then I personally would suggest that you go through other means of help, because if you can't go 5 days without having alcohol, there's other issues that you may be facing.
Right.
I mean, that's
true.
That's coming personally from me.
I do want to finish on the elements that are required for standby pay. So in the last litigation where the FLRA found against the Border Patrol, the unions, they ultimately found that, in fact, the agents did not meet the second requirement, that their activities were substantially limited. So we lost on that second element. What's happened since then is agents are being mandated. So back in 2010, the union went to McGillivray and Woodley McGillivray and asked them for
the other attorneys that are handling another lawsuit for us.
Yes.
That's with it's concerning FLOSSA pay and prep time before you go to the shift. Those are suffer. What's it called?
Not suffering permit. It's donning and doffing.
Donning
I can't
and
remember
doffing.
the
Either way, it's the same law firm that is also handling another lawsuit for us.
So we posed that question to this
them.
law firm, essentially saying, look, there's been a substantial change. Agents are no longer volunteering. They're now being mandated. And Woodley and McGillivray went through the analysis and they said, sorry, same result. You don't qualify. One of the reasons why they said you don't qualify is ultimately related to this third element, that the employee is required to remain in a state of readiness to perform work. Ultimately, what the law says is that if you are an agent at a camp, for you to qualify for standby pay, you not only have to be ready for work, you actually have to be called back onto duty and work on a regular and persistent basis. And as we all know, that does not happen with our camps. In my 10 years here, I think I'm aware of one instance, where that has been true. So just to finish, we don't qualify for standby pay because we failed to meet 2 of the 3 elements required for standby pay to be applicable.
And that was decided by a judge.
That was decided by an FLRA judge, yes.
And can we take it higher? Can we take it to another push? In other words, what would really need to happen if we wanted to revisit this issue on standby?
Well, I mean, the fact you can always file a grievance, you can always try to file an appeal.
Will we win?
No. Ultimately, the way to make this change is ultimately to have a change of the facts on the ground. Agents would have to be called back on duty on a regular and persistent basis.
Not once or twice.
No, a regular. Like for instance, they've talked about some cases where electricians were on ships. They were the only ones qualified to do the job. They were called back on a regular and persistent basis. They qualified for standby pay. Border Patrol agents, just by virtue of being held at a camp or being mandated to remain at a camp, they're not called back on duty. Like I said, I'm aware of one instance in 10 years where that's happened.
Do you believe Woodley and McGillivray, or even our counsel, which is you, which I trust fully, would we file a lawsuit or another lawsuit if we think this case could be won?
We look at this issue at least once a year. We're all, obviously our members are very concerned about camps, and they really wish us that there was a way for us to shut them down. And so we look at this issue on a regular basis. We keep running into the law. The facts on the ground don't meet the elements of the law. It doesn't matter what we do in terms of trying to file some litigation, we will never, at least under the current circumstances, meet the elements required for standby pay to apply.
So the only way, and let me get this straight, because I want to make sure that the guys that are watching out there and the girls really fully understand. The only way that we could win this, if we move forward and tried some other type of grievance, some other type of push, would be a complete change in the standby law.
Yes.
That's the only way.
That is the only way.
Do you believe that, because I know there's rumors out there, do you believe that if certain members or non-members or any agent out there that feels they're affected would possibly be able to find another attorney that would take their case?
Attorneys, unfortunately, are willing to take any cause, as long as you pay them.
But from what you've seen, and you dealt directly with it, and we deal with this at this local all the time, because of the law, and because we went through the arbitration. You could correct me when I'm wrong, because I don't want us to, make the listeners think differently, or they want them to know the truth. We grieved it, we pushed it. The arbitrator said we're correct. The agency appealed it, went to the FLRA. The judge looked at the whole case, the appeal, and the judge said the arbitrator was wrong, and now it's the judge's decision, and his decision, his word is what's going to go, and his word was, no, you do not meet the requirements for standby pay.
Correct.
Barring a change in the law, we are stuck with it the way it is.
We are stuck with it. Anyone interested in changing the situation would probably spend their money better if they went to get a lobbyist and try to lobby Congress to change the law, because absent a change in the law, there's not going to be a change in how the camps are run, or the fact that agents don't qualify for standby pay.
And this local has fought many times. We've sat down with OIG, we've sat down with different congressmen, and we've explained the differences in the FOBs, the differences in camps, and what we believe that the manpower could be more properly used. And we'll continue to do so, but when it comes to standby pay, everyone needs to understand, I have the attorneys here, we've have the documents here from the answers that Woodley and McDillivary gave us, and pretty much the decision by the judge is what stands. The appeal was filed by the agency, and the agency won the appeal. That's where we're at. Once again, I hope this is very helpful. Continue sending us any questions. If there's any issues with this, please reach out to your chief stewards at your main stations. If you guys see me around the station or see me around sector, whatever, by all means, talk to me, pull me in, and we can discuss it. But I think having the attorneys here, discussing everything thoroughly, explaining to you guys how it's worked, how it happens, I think we're more than ahead of the game, and we're doing everything we can. But when it comes to standby pay, we're standing where it's at. There's nothing we can do barring a change in the law. Once again, thank you. Have a safe shift for all of you guys that are out there, and God bless.